Today, this is our fourth live training that we've done from the LumaTouch Academy, where it's been open to everybody. So thank you very much for giving up your time and coming along today. I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks, and we're going to be focusing today on how to use Multicam Studio. So if you've never used it before or you've been using it for a while, absolutely send your questions in as we go. My name is Caroline Scott. I am a content creation specialist here at LumaTouch, and I'm joined today by Terry and Scott from LumaTouch, of course, who will be answering any questions that you have. So please do use that chat box as we go through the session today. Absolutely any questions you have, please do post them in. This is the time to get them answered. So today we are running an introduction to Multicam Studio. Multicam Studio is one of the new and exciting features that we have within LumaFusion, and it's designed to enable you to edit faster, edit quickly, and edit more creatively. So we would like all of you guys to start embracing Multicam Studio. I know some of you have just downloaded it over the past few days, and some of you have been testing the waters a little bit. So we're going to be diving into a few different examples of how you can use Multicam Studio today. And hopefully by the end of it, all of you will be feeling really confident in how to use Multicam, and we'll want to kind of embrace it and jump into it further as we go through. But as I say, I know some of you have never tried it before and are completely new to the concept of multicam. So I just wanted to start with thinking about what is Multicam Studio and why one might use it in their editing. So when we say multicam, the clue's in the name, multicam, okay? It's multiple cameras. So it is the process of editing video or audio that was recorded simultaneously during an event or production. So imagine you're watching your favorite TV show and you see, let's say, actors from different directions, or you're watching a live, let's say, a dance television show, and you are seeing the dancers from different directions. Rather than asking the people on screen to do the same action again and again and again while you move your camera and move into a new position, the process of multicam is when you are using multiple cameras and you're pressing record at the same time. And what we're going to be doing with this feature is syncing those cameras together so you can just have fun and flick between all of the different shots, as opposed to having to find the exact same frame on every single clip and layering it up on your timeline. Okay, this is about making your life a lot easier and enabling you to be a bit more creative in your editing. So where is it used? It's used in situations where you want to film anything from different angles. So you're going to be capturing different pieces of action. I've put here sporting events, live concerts. Maybe you want a close-up on a singer and a wide shot of the stage, television shows, film productions, but you can use it in very, very simple scenarios as well as big budget productions. So today I'm going to be showing you different examples of how you might use that. And then it's up to you guys to pick and choose which ones are going to suit your project the best. So first off, this is, I think, one of my favorite uses of Multicam Studio, because this is something that we as video producers, we do all the time. We shoot a video interview or a piece to camera like this, as you can see here with camera one, and we're going to record the audio on a different device. Okay, sometimes we do have a separate audio recorder that's separate from our camera. So in this scenario, I'm sure you guys will have all been in the same boat as me, where you go into LumaFusion and you're trying to sync the video file to that audio file, and it's really painstaking because you're moving frame by frame and it's just never synced correctly. Well, that's where Multicam Studio comes in, where you're going to ask LumaFusion to do it for you in the touch of a few buttons. So hopefully you guys will find this as exciting as I do. So I'm going to go into LumaFusion now and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it so you guys can get started right away. So if you're at home and you have LumaFusion open on your desktop, please do open it with me. As you can see here, I'm in a brand new project. And what I'm going to be doing is opening a new multicam container. Now, Multicam Studio, it's almost like an app within the larger app of LumaFusion, okay? So it works slightly differently to how we edit clips on the timeline. So you can see here at the bottom of the screen, I have this add clip icon, okay? We use the add clip icon for a variety of things in LumaFusion, but today we're going to be using it to add a new multicam container. Now, whenever you sync your audio or your video files in LumaFusion, you will be doing it within this container. So you're going to tap on multicam container there, And as you can see, that pops up on your timeline. Okay, so here we can see the container is there. Now, at the moment, it's got nothing in it. It's just a block on our timeline. So what we need to do, the first step when we do anything with Multicam, we need to go into the synchronizer to actually add our files. So we can see there we have two icons. We have the synchronizer and we have the switcher. Okay, now the first step, it's already lit up for you in purple, so your eyes are directed to it. You're going to go into that synchronizer and go and find the clips that you want to synchronize. But before we do that, I just wanted to walk you through some of the interface for this synchronizer so you can see what this is going to look like. So here we have all of these different drop zones, and these drop zones are where you're going to actually add the clips that you're working with. Okay, so you can sync up to 6 different cameras and audio files in Multicam Studio itself. This one up here is your primary audio, which we will dive into that in a little bit. I'm going to show you some examples of why you would. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and find some videos and audio that we want to sync. So I showed you that example there. We have our video clip. So let's say we've shot this piece to camera interview directly to the camera. We've just got the one camera working here, and we have our audio file. Okay, so he had a separate audio recorder recording him. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag. So just like we usually do on the timeline, we drag and drop our clips. We're doing the exact same thing within the synchronizer in our Multicam container. I'm going to drag this video clip down, as you can see, and I'm going to drag it into drop zone 1. Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm adding that first video file down. Again, do this with me at home if you like, and if not, and you just want to watch, absolutely fine as well. So we're dragging that down into drop zone 1, and you can see here we have our video clip within our container. Fantastic. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to ask it to sync the audio to it that I've recorded on a separate audio device. So here we can see we have our audio. I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to drag that down into another drop zone. Okay, now these drop zones, you can put audio or you can put video in them. So I'm going to drop that down. And now you can see we have our audio in drop zone 2 and our video in drop zone 1. Now, as soon as I've dropped multiple pieces into the synchronizer, the app is saying here, press to sync. Okay, so this syncing icon here will enable me to sync that content either automatically via its audio or via its time code. Now you can sync manually. I will get onto that in a bit as well, where you can actually have more control over the syncing if you wish to do so, or if you need to do so. But for now, we're going to press on automatic, where we will be able to just sit here and watch these two clips synchronize. You can see here as I tap on each one, that is what I see in my preview, just like you do on the timeline. Okay, so it's emulating those similar techniques that we use on the timeline every single day. So I'm going to tap to sync here, and I'm going to tap automatic, and now LumaFusion is going to do its magic. Okay, so rather than you actually having to watch that video back, wait for the first frame that, you know, this guy is going to say a sentence, and then go and find that in the audio and then try to sync it, which is, as I said before, it's painstaking, isn't it? I know you guys have probably done this in the past where it is very difficult. Here, all we're doing is saying, listen out for the audio on this video. Now listen out for the audio in this audio clip, and I would like you to sync it together. Okay, so we're just synchronizing those clips. Now, while that's working, on the left-hand side where you see those drop zones, can you see it says 1, 1, and then 2, 2? Okay, so what that's telling me is there, I have video 1 with the audio 1 on that first drop zone. And on the second drop zone, I have video 2 with the audio of 2. Okay, now obviously on 2, we just have an audio track, so it doesn't have a video. But what we can actually do is we can map the audio or the video from one track to another. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here, because we actually don't want the audio from this video track to play at all, because it's poor quality. We didn't have a mic attached to the camera, and that's why we used an external microphone. So here you can see we've synced these clips together, and we can see that by looking at these waveforms. Can you see they're perfectly synced together? And you can actually test it if you like, but let's just change the mapping of these to start with. So what we're going to do now is the audio in drop zone 2 is what we want to keep. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tap this icon on the left-hand side next to the drop zone, and I'm going to say, okay, I want you to map that to the audio on drop zone 2. Okay, so now There will be no audio from the first video playing. We'll just see the video from the video clip, and we'll hear the audio from the audio clip. So as I play this through.
Name and profession.
My name is Justin Khanna, and I'm a chef and content creator based in Seattle, Washington.
Okay, so we can see that synced. Now, if you're having any problems with the syncing, you can tap here at the bottom, and you can tap to manually sync your clips together, in which case you'll be able to drag your clips left and right. Okay, now I've perfectly synced those together. That's all that I have to do. I'm just going to close this clip now. And now you can see on my timeline, I have my video file with its audio track perfectly synced. And now I can go to sync my clips together. Okay. Now, if I wanted to now add layers, add B-roll, titles, music, this is just like a normal LumaFusion timeline now, right? I can go and add all of those layers on top. That's absolutely fine. If I wanted to split the clip, again, it works in the same way. I'm going to use 2 fingers either side of that playhead, and I'm going to split that clip. When you do split a multicam container, as I've just done here, it will now work into 2 different containers like this. So you will be working separately, because what you're doing then, for example, here, let's say I wanted to trim off that bit. I didn't like what you said for that answer. Now, basically, you're changing the flow of time, aren't you? Because it's not going from one bit to another. You've basically stopped time, and now the 2 can't be synced. So now each of them, you have 2 multicam containers on your timeline. So that is the most easy way to use Multicam Studio, by syncing a piece of audio to a video clip that you've shot, which is fantastic, because that means if you don't have a microphone attached to your camera and you've got your interviewee who's really far away from the lens, it doesn't matter. You can sync audio and video very easily. Now, what's going to happen though, for example, if we go back onto this example here, now we have 2 cameras. Okay, so we've just seen there that you can easily sync audio to video, just like that. It was a touch of a button, took me less than a minute. Now, what's going to happen if you have multiple cameras? This is where Multicam Studio really shines, because now you're not just working with 2 files, you're working in this case with 3 files. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And as I'm demoing this, I want you to think about what I'm doing. Just watch the actions. It's exactly the same as I did before. It's not a whole brand new process. It's literally just a case of dragging new video clips in. So I'm going to go back to my timeline. I'm going to delete this just for now so we can start from afresh. I'm going to go find those tracks. You can see I've color coded those red so I could find them. I'm going to add a new multicam container, add clip at the bottom, tap on multicam container, and I'm going to go into my synchronizer. Okay, remember the first step is always you need to sync. If you haven't synced your clips, of course, you have nothing to switch, which is the fun part we're going to get onto now. So I'm going to drag camera 1 into that first drop zone and let go. I'm going to now drag camera 2 in. As you can see here, we've got camera 2, which is the side angle of Justin here. And I'm going to drag my audio in. I'm going to bring that in to drop zone 3. Okay, so we've got camera 1, camera 2, and we've got our audio file that was recording him. Okay, now remember what we're going to do is we're going to map that audio. So we want camera number 1. We want that to only pick up the audio of 3. We want camera number 2 to only use the audio of 3. And as you can see now, we're just going to be focusing on those video files. Again, I'm pressing to sync, that syncing icon at the bottom. I'm going to tap on automatic, and now it's going to analyze those clips again. So it's going to look at, as you can see here, just in camera 1, it's going to work its way through and to the camera 2 as well. And then it will sync it to that audio file. So depending on how long your video clips are here, it will depend on how long it takes to sync. Most of the time, it takes shorter than it does to, make a cup of coffee. So if you can leave it going, go off, make yourself a drink, and then come back and it will all be synced. But a nice little tip is, and I think Amy's done a Did You Know on our YouTube page about this, if you are working with really, really long video files, a good tip is to pre-trim your clip and then press sync, and then you can extend the clips out. So you can actually trim your clips within the synchronizer as well. You don't have to bring the entirety of the clip in. So for example, you might be working with let's say a 30-minute a conference presentation. You might have someone on stage you've recorded for 30 minutes, but there could be someone in the front row that's only had their camera on as a close-up on the speaker for 20 seconds, okay? So you're not going to want to sync 30 minutes of video with that 20 seconds. What you're going to do is you're just going to pre-trim that clip down to, say, like a minute of the wide shot, and then you're just going to bring your 20-second clip in, and it will sync a lot faster, okay? So as you can see here, it just chugs through, and then once it's absolutely synced, then you'll be ready to go into the switcher. Now, as this is working its way through, when I say the switcher, that is part 2 of using Multicam Studio. And that's where you're basically picking which clips you want to switch to. So it's almost like you're in a full production studio, you're in the gallery, let's say you're in a TV studio, and you are seeing what all the cameras have recorded at the same time, and you're going to pick the best angles. And that's what we're going to do with this in a second once we go into the switcher. So here you can see the sync has been complete. Now you'll notice, and some people get confused at this, but really it's nothing to be worried about. If you've got some black space here, all that means is that your cameras press record at different times, right? Because they're not all going to be perfectly lined up. The reason being is that they're all slightly different lengths. So you can see here, just in camera 1, you see he looks up at this point, and he's looking up at that point. You can see we can just tap between them, just make sure that they're synced. There he's put his arm out. Again, there he's put his arm out. So we've got perfect syncing. So here you can see at the beginning, actually nothing was recorded at this point because we pressed the side camera first. So if we want to, we can trim this down just for ease. We don't have to at all, but if you'd like to, you can actually trim within the synchronizer as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go into what we call the switcher. And as I say, the switcher is the most fun part, okay, because the switcher is where you've already synced. You're just watching the magic unfold. You're watching what you've recorded. So that's where your creativity comes into play, because we don't want you to spend time on the technicalities of syncing everything and putting it all together. We want you to actually tell the story, okay, and listen to the content, what's been said. So that's where the switcher comes in. What we're going to do now is we're going to close the synchronizer, and we're going to go into what we call the switcher. Now you'll notice here on the timeline, I can only see one clip in my preview, and that's because that is the clip I selected in the synchronizer. So if I go now into my switcher here, now we can see, okay, we've got all of our video clips playing at once. So we've got those 2 clips there. You can see they're happening at the same time. And that third black box, that is our audio. But remember, we've mapped those 2 video files to that third audio track. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to play our clip. And as we play our clip, we can hear the audio at the same time. But what I want you to watch is how I'm going to just tap on each individual thumbnail, and that is going to switch the video. Okay, so here we go.
Name and profession.
My name is Justin Khanna, and I'm a chef and content creator based in Seattle, Washington.
How long have you been creating video content?
I've been creating video content since 2015. There's originally travel vlogs for me because I was going all over the world, cooking, staging, exploring, and it's always fun to create content when you're traveling because everything's new.
Okay, so it's really fun, and it's really easy to just be like tap, 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 tap here. So you can see as I'm doing that, the colors are changing down here on this clip. Can you see that down there on the container? It's telling me, okay, you've got Justin at camera 1 is purple. You can see that because we've got a purple border surrounding him. And we've got Justin on clip number 2. And you can see he's looking to the left there, okay, and he's in blue. So you can see all I'm doing here is I'm switching between the different clips, okay? Easy does it. We're playing our clip.
Where do I go from there?
And we're switching.
From there, I expanded my YouTube channel. I started to create a weekly podcast.
You can see, super easy to do. We've already mapped the audio. Now, if you're working with content where you don't want to switch the audio for a certain section, or you don't want to switch the video, but you want to switch the audio, that's where these icons on the left come into play, okay? So for example, if you were working with 2 different video clips, so let's say you were having a Zoom conversation with someone. I know we have a video on our YouTube page about this. how to edit two different audio recordings together where you've got video and audio attached, like a conversation where you have two separate pieces of audio, two separate pieces of video. You might perhaps want to see somebody's nodding along yes, but not actually have that audio for that file. And in that case, you can choose to just, if you look over to the left now, turn the audio switching off while you switch between the clip, and then turn it back on again. Okay, so where you have two video files with two different pieces of audio and you want to switch without the video or without the audio at some points, you can do that. Okay, so any questions about this, please do pop that in the comments. What I'm going to show you now is something a little bit more complex. Okay, so we've shown you how to sync a simple piece of video with a simple piece of audio. Now I'm going to show you what happens if you have up to 6 different cameras and a primary audio track. We're going to look at that primary audio track and see what it actually means. Okay, so let's close this now. I'm going to remove this. So we're going back to scratch, and I'm going to show you. If we sync up to 6 different cameras, that's the maximum that you can do here in Multicam Studio. So let's say you are recording. In this instance, I'm going to show you a band performance where you have 6 different cameras on the stage. Perhaps you have a wide shot, a close-up, one on the drummer, one on the guitarist, one on the dancers. You have 6 different cameras. That might be iPhones, that might be DSLRs. It doesn't matter what camera you use. I'm going to show you how you can sync those all together. So again, here we are in LumaFusion. We've got a brand new project. What we're going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom. It's always exactly the same. We're going to go to a multicam container. Down here in our multicam container, you can see we have the synchronizer and the switcher. Remember, the first step is always, always, always the synchronizer. We're going to tap into that synchronizer there, and I'm going to go and find the items that I'm looking for. You can see I've already previously imported these into the app. So you can see I've got 6 different videos. We've got one wide shot from the back of the room where you can see the dancer. We've got a medium angle from the stage. We've got a close-up on our drummer. Another one from the stage, but low down. And camera number 5 is just on our keyboard player. And then number 6 from the side of the stage looking out towards the audience. Okay, a bit of a roving camera. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring all of these down, and then I'm going to show you how to use the primary music track. So let's select all of our clips. We can either do that individually, or if you want, you can tap to select all of them, tap on them individually like this. You see, I just clicked the multi-select icon there, and I'm going to drag, and I'm going to drag them down, and they're automatically going to go down into the synchronizer. I just dragged that into drop zone 1, and they just filled up all the other drop zones. Okay, so now we have 6 different video tracks there. Now, in this case scenario, you can see there's Scott busy at work. What we're going to do now is we're going to show you how you would sync a music video together. Now, that primary audio drop zone up here at the top, this is quite special because what that will do is it will mute the audio from all of the different video clips that you're working with. What you're telling Multicam Studio at that moment is that this is the audio that I want, the only piece of audio that I want playing throughout my multicam sync. However, well, you're basically telling it that that's audio that you don't want to be cut. So in this example here, this is the perfect opportunity. You're doing a music video. You can see here we've got a music video going on. This is the recording. However, we've got a piece of audio in the background, which is the studio version of this piece of music that the band are miming along to. Okay, so in that scenario, we're not going to want any of the audio from the stage itself. We're literally just going to want the professional audio that has been recorded. You can do the same if you record a video piece to camera with an audio track as well. It would work exactly the same, but that primary audio drop zone is really useful in scenarios where you just want one piece of audio to play throughout the entirety of your video clip, which you're probably not going to cut up. So I'm going to drag that down now into my primary music, my primary drop zone. You can see as I do so, watch the audio of all of the other drop zones is going to mute now. And now you can see what we've done is we've told Multicam Studio is that we only want the video from all of those pieces of all of those other clips. We don't want any of the audio. We want it all to sync to the primary drop zone. So as you can see here, now I'm going to tap to sync that. I've tapped on automatic. Of course, if something is not syncing, let's say, for example, you have music that is really difficult to hear, perhaps you have muffled sound in there, you will have to then go on to manually sync your clips. And that's easy enough to do. You can say, okay, let's automatically sync our clips. And then you can decide, okay, now I'm going to manually just neaten it up. You can do so as well. Okay, so that's completely up to you. So here you can see we have all of our clips that are synced. If you wanted to, you could go through and you could find the start of your video. So let's say here, you can see that's probably going to be the start. If you wanted to, you could go and cut all of your clips like this. All I'm doing is putting my 2 fingers either side, and you can just throw them away, just like you would do on a timeline. So it's up to you if you want to neaten it up here, or if you want to neaten it up when you actually get onto the LumaFusion timeline. So as you can see here, we have our synced media, and you can go through and you can test it. And you can go through and you can keep tapping, but that's up to you. Depends how much time you have. So we're going to close that and we're going to go into our switcher. Okay, so we've done the sync. Now we're going to go to the switcher. So now we're in our switcher here. We can literally just have a bit of fun with it. We can listen to the music back and we can tap on the video clip that's going to look the best. So you can see here, let's start off. We've got our primary audio down here at the bottom, and we have our cameras up here at the top. So you can see we've got all of the different thumbnails, video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to start off with our drummer, because we can see from those thumbnails, that's going to be the best shot. Of course, when you're doing any multicam filming, you're going to have times where one camera has footage that you just don't want. It's just going to look messy. Maybe it's a roving camera. You're not going to want to switch to it. So always keep an eye on some of those thumbnails. So you can see here, I'm just going to play this clip through and I'm going to watch all of the different videos, and I'm going to tap when I feel it's going to be necessary.
Yeah. Tell me how you playing in your secrets. We don't gotta play all the defense. I'm standing on the edge of the deep end too. Worried that I might get my feet wet. I can tell you about pain and regret. We could hit the streets and run till the feet red. Baby, on the way to make dreams come true. A lot of fish up in the sea, I'm swimming with you. We was jumping off the car till we seasick. The ride like a fleet.
You see, as I'm tapping them through, I'm literally just listening back to the audio and I'm tapping as I'm going. Now, this is easy to do because this is a music track. I can just listen to the beat and I can switch it as and when I think it sounds good. However, you don't necessarily have to watch your entire clip through. You can just move this along. So you can move the container along and you can just tap. And as you can see, I'm just tapping just by watching the clips here, and I can move to whichever clip I'd like. Okay, so as you can see there, I've literally just pulled the clips in to the multicam container. I've synced them, and then I've switched those clips together. Now, if I switch and I don't like a switch, let's say there, oh, I didn't like that, I can just tap and I can use this handle here and I can just retrim my clip. Okay, so this is exactly the same as you would do on your timeline. Let's say at this point here, I don't like how I'm going from camera 2 to camera 3 like that. Perhaps I want to just drag that camera 2 out a little bit longer, and I can do. I'm just using those trimming handles. Okay, guys. So Multicam Studio is all about enabling you to sync that content faster. So what kind of content can you sync? Video clips together. Of course, if you've got audio tracks that go along with that, we've shown you how to do that. We can link Zoom conversations together as well, because you can flick on the left and right, whether you switch the videos on or off while you're syncing. You just need to remember to turn those off. And then when you go back onto the timeline, you can see your entire container can be picked up, or you can pull individual sections out. Okay, so that's my entire multicam container. If I was to grab a section and pull it out, you can see now I've broken the flow of time. So that's going to pull me into 2 different multicam containers. Okay, so just understanding how that works. Remember, it's all about synchronicity. So syncing your audio to your video. Okay, so we can see there we've got our multicam container. And now if I wanted to, I can then go into my titles and I can bring my titles down onto my clip. And it works in exactly the same manner as you would do while you're editing anything else. Scott, Terry, have we had any questions or demos or any problems that people are encountering that you want me to show? What are the main things people are using multicam for that we've had?
Well, I think there was some questions about why you would want to map audio in various ways. And I think
sure.
the thing I'd like to say is that the mapping of the audio is more flexible than any mapping of audio that you will have seen in any multicam. And at first it feels a little bit like, wait a minute, how do I make sense of that? But the fact is, you can go back, like Carolyn could go back into that edit with the concert where she has the primary track and say, oh, I cut to a scene or a shot of a person in the audience screaming, and I can't hear them screaming because they were so, we've mapped to the primary audio. But she can go back and map that angle again, remap it, and it's automatically going to show up on the timeline. And then those audio clips can be detached from the multicam clip, and then you can do J cuts and L cuts, and you can really use that synchronized audio adjacent to your multicam clip to really do absolutely anything you can dream of. So it is something you've got to think about what it is you really want, and then know that it probably is possible in this multicam. So you just have to figure out, do I use the primary track? Do I use, am I going to detach the audio after synchronizing it, or stuff like that?
There's a question from one of our participants here, Eugene, who says, I do multicam editing of podcasts and interviews. I'm currently mounting them in Final Cut. Can I select video from one camera in LumaFusion and take audio from another camera? This is a very important function when editing an interview. So Terry, that's exactly why you designed it this way, right? I mean, talk about that a second.
That is right, because you don't know, like we don't know how your shoot is set up. So for every camera, we make it possible for you to say, I want to hear the audio, I don't want to hear the audio, I want to hear different audio, I want to cut the audio every time I switch, or I want this primary track that never gets cut unless I manually cut it on the timeline. So it's just super flexible. I'm switching. For live switching, no, it's not a live switching multicam.
Just to jump back to the podcasting quickly, if you're recording a podcast where you have one audio file, let's say you're recording and you've just got a single microphone in the middle of two people and you're both speaking at the same time, then that's obviously going to be easy because you're just going to be using the one audio file. But if you have a camera on a participant, let's say I'm going to be talking to Terry and we've both got our own audio streams, we've both got our own videos. In that scenario, as I mentioned earlier, Terry might be saying something and I might have a reaction, which you want on camera for your video, but you don't necessarily want my gasp in it. You just want to hear what Terry's saying, for example. And it's in those kind of cases where using the toggling on and off of the audio switching, as I showed you with the icons, is going to be great, because that means that you guys can produce videos that are really filled with like visual creativity, and you're not constrained. Okay, this person's talking, I have to just see them on screen. No, you can switch between the different cameras, but still hear the quality audio from that speaker. So I think podcasting is a really great example of where you might use this tool. Scott, I don't know if you've already put it in the chat, but on our YouTube page there is an entire detailed video on specifically recording, linking between two different conversations. That might be online, like on Zoom, or that might be podcasting. It doesn't matter. If you've got different audio tracks and different video tracks, you know, switching between conversations is something that we expect you guys to be doing quite a bit. So definitely have a go with that, and try not to get overwhelmed, you know, by it just looking slightly different. As soon as you start synchronizing everything, you'll be like, oh, I see how it works. You just need to have that little bit of hands-on time within the app to actually play around with it a little bit.
So one thing to note is that multicam clip it's not the project that's multicam, it's just the clip. So this clip can be combined with all of your other editing. So you could make a multicam clip and layer it, or you could cut it alongside other interviews or whatever you have. You can have B-roll, whatever.
So Adam's there put, can a multicam container be converted to a standalone project? Well, Adam, you could technically export the work you've done in your multicam container, but the beauty of the multicam container is that you can go and re-edit what you've already done. So if you were to have, you know, a basic timeline where you didn't have multicam and you were syncing everything, so you're using up all your layers, and then you're cutting, like imagine guys having to cut between those 6 cameras on your timeline, camera 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you're cutting holes in all of your different layers. It's going to take you hours and hours and hours, maybe even days. It's like such a mission. So if you did have a separate standalone project, you wouldn't be able to then go and edit. Terry, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just realized maybe it's not obvious, but you can add effects to any of those tracks in the synchronizer that will then flow through to your switcher. So if you wanted one camera to always be black and white, or you just want to do some minor color correction, or you want a crazy effect on it, that can all be done in the synchronizer, and then every time you cut to it, you get that great effect.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps I will actually just show that. I'll just share my screen quickly. So guys, so let's say, for example, in this multicam container here, we've got our clips. Now you've just got to use your imagination that I've done it for the entirety of that. So let's say, for example, every time this drummer came on screen, we wanted him to be black and white, let's say. Okay, so what we could do is we could tap and we can go into our synchronizer here, and what we could do is make a change to that one clip, which is going to affect the entirety. Every time that we switch to that clip, it's going to change just so we don't have to do it to every time that the camera goes onto him. It's just done for the entirety of that clip. So what I did there is I just went into my synchronizer, I double tapped, and now you can see these are the editors you all know how to use, right? So we're going to go into our color and effects editor. In this case, I just said what happens if it's black and white. And as Terry said there, I've just done that there. I've just added the effect on. And now when I go back and I go into my timeline, you can see every time we go onto that drummer, he's now black and white. Okay, so the effect carries on between all of them. Is there any other questions, guys? Please keep them coming if you've got anything else.
Caroline, Adam asks if you could show us some transitions.
Yeah, if you want to add a transition onto the timeline, you're just going to drag and drop it on like as usual. Sorry, I'm just not plugged in. Let me just plug in.
One more thing. Justin is asking, can you add the color effect for just a small section of the clip instead of the base clip? And the answer is yes. And to do that, you are in the timeline, you tap once to select the multicam clip, and then tap another time on the small portion, and you can enter the FX editor. So Carolyn can show that.
Great. So as I showed before, changing for the entirety of one camera has to be done in the synchronizer, and that's where you're going to see the clip as a whole. So as Terry just mentioned there, let's say just this individual clip here. Let's find one that we might want to change. So let's say this wide shot of the stage. If we just want that one clip, we're just going to tap in it once, double tap, and now I'm going to go into my color and effects. Let's add like a weird effect to this just so you can really see the difference. So maybe some edge mix. Okay, and so I'm going to go back, and now you can see it is only for that one clip. And even when we went to the same camera angle, it's not changed. So that's the same camera angle there, but it's not changed. Okay, so it's only for that individual clip. If you want to add transitions onto this, you're just going to drag your transitions down. So I'm going to drag that transition down, and then I can just place it just as like you would do on a normal timeline. So you can see there. Yeah, so I'm just dragging, dropping.
Yes, and it will handle, you know, if you put an effect on top of this portion of the black and white clip, LumaFusion will handle that as well. So you can add to that effect.
I like that. So yeah, so you can see all of this clip of the drummer is black and white. I'm going to go onto this clip individually and add a bit of motion blur. And I'm going to go back. And now you can see that that effect has been added purely to that individual clip of the drummer. And if I go into other clips, so you can see he's not blurred. He's literally just black and white. So Scott, we were just saying before we came on, there's a lot of people that are wanting to use multicam, but are feeling a bit nervous because they're thinking, well, I'm not doing these big budget productions. I don't have 6 iPhones, never mind 6, DSLRs or more traditional cameras. Can you just talk us through when a creator might perhaps use multicam when they don't have a lot of kit?
Yeah, well, here a perfect example that I think of is a lot of people have a music practice, right? You play guitar, and to help yourself get better as a musician, maybe you want to see hear a recording of yourself, or maybe you want to share that with somebody, right? So it's really, really easy. You got a little digital recorder, you set that right next to the guitar so it picks up good sound, and then you put a video on yourself, on a little tripod so that you're taking a picture of what your hands are doing on the guitar. And then how do you get those 2 files together? That's a very common. That's kind of what you started with, Caroline, is the audio recorded separately from the video. As long as there's decent audio in the video file, it should sync to the audio in the separate audio only file. That's a really good example. Another could be, people get creative with this sort of thing, but say you're at 90th birthday party for somebody, and 6 different people or 3 different people have their iPhones or their Android phones out and are filming grandma blowing out the candles on her 90th birthday cake. Take those pieces of video in, and as long as everybody was sort of recording similarly, you're likely going to be able to sync those things, and then you can cut to different angles and have something that looks like real production values out of just the videos that you keep in your pocket most of the time.
Yeah, I love that example because, we've got a lot of journalists that use LumaFusion and, a lot of home videos that are made. And obviously with both of those things, obviously professional journalism, but also home videos, there's a lot of user-generated content. We're all sharing, we all airdrop each other our content, we're all WhatsApping it to each other, we've all got lots of different other people's videos on our phones. Let's say, for example, you guys are at a festival and you're all filming. We all do it, don't we? We're all watching something and we're filming it on our phones, but we all might be different places in the crowd, right? So you can say to your mates, send me all those video clips, I'm going to sync them. And then you've got a video from the night which has all happened at the same spot. Maybe you got friends celebrating in one part of the crowd, another, or perhaps maybe, and we've seen this actually happen quite a lot, where people are doing a PowerPoint presentation as part of a Zoom call, right? So sometimes that can be a bit boring. What they're doing is they're recording themselves on Zoom or whichever online streaming that they're using. They're recording themselves. They've got a video of themselves doing their presentation, but they're also recording their PowerPoint at the same time, or their keynotes. They've got their slides. So therefore, then you've got 2 different files that took place at the exact same time that then you can do a multicam recording to switch between. Okay, so there you go. So it's just 2 things that happen at the same time. So have a go with this yourself. I see Laurie there has written, in interviews, would you cut the clips with the best bits first and then multicam afterwards? Personally, if I was editing an interview, I would sync everything and then I would pick my best bits, because it's just easier for the tool to be able to just find that clapperboard moment at the beginning. I still would, guys, whenever you're using multicam or you're using something that you're going to be syncing, still get into those same practices. Have somebody clap at the beginning, have a clapperboard, right? Have a noticeable moment on camera. You know, we saw in that example there when Scott was filming with 6 different cameras, he was actually in the middle of the room and he did his clapperboard there. Because if the audio is not great on one of the cameras and it's struggling to sync, and then we have to manual mode and change those, that's fine, because we can see the moment that Scott hits the clapperboard, okay, and vice versa. If you do have to use manual mode within LumaFusion, I'm going to show you what that looks like in Studio. So basically, if you're having problems with any of your clips and you're thinking, oh, that one's just slightly out of sync, then don't worry at all. There's absolutely no need to close Multicam Studio and try to manually sync it yourself outside. You need to be doing it within the container. So let's say here, for example, we're in our synchronizer and we're just not happy with this purple clip here. We're not happy with that camera. What I can do now, we've already synced everything else. I can tap on the bottom and go into manual mode, okay? When you're in manual mode, you can see at the moment, I can't drag this. It's going to ping back into position, okay? Because it's saying, Caroline, whoa, whoa, whoa. You asked us to sync this automatically. We've used the audio for this track. So what if this top one is slightly out of whack? And it's fine if it is. All you're going to do is you're going to tap here at the bottom and change to manual mode. Now you're in manual mode. You can see all of these different icons appear. So it's showing you that you can actually manually pick these clips up and drag them across. And it's exactly the same as when you're on your timeline, right? You can see how many frames you're moving to the right or left. And if you wanted to, you can split the clip. This is a little trick I like to use, and it makes it so much easier. Split your clip at a moment where something happens. So here, for example, you might be watching this clip. You can see the camera's moving. At that moment, can you see he's lifted his leg and he's at the very top of his dance move? There he's at the top of the dance move. What I would do is split my clip there and throw everything else away. And now I just have a really small clip. I'm going to move around and then I'm going to drag it out afterwards. So what I would do is I would go and find another video clip where he's actually smacked his leg at the top. I've just moved it out of sync there. But you can see what I would do there is I would find that clip where he's smacked his leg. I'm not going to be able to find it now. But let's say, for example, it was at a moment like this. I would split that clip again and drag it into position. And then I know the frames are going to be aligned. And then I can literally just drag that clip out using these trimming handles. So you see, switching between audio, switching between time code and automatic and manual is actually really easy to do. And you can just do it with that icon at the bottom. And if you want to get really precise, you're going to use these little nudging icons down here. And you can see I can just nudge frame by frame, or I can jump frames at the same time. Terry, how many frames am I jumping if I use this double icon?
10.
Yeah.
10 frames.
10 frames. Great. So 1 frame at a time and 10 frames at a time. Okay, guys. So really, you know, whether you are working with a single clip and a piece of audio, or a video to camera with your slideshow, or whether you are filming your amazing new series and you've got actors everywhere and 6 different cameras, that's fine. You can still use Multicam Studio. Okay. So really it's about just embracing this technology to enable you to actually get on with telling the story, the creativity part. So, really this is all about saving you guys time. So the more and more you can get into practicing with it, the easier your life is going to be. Okay. So what I would suggest to you guys is to go, and it does look like from the comments, you guys are actually working on some projects, so you've got some stuff in mind. So start with one project, give it a go. Think, okay, what can I sync in this? Will I need 2 different cameras? Do I need separate audio? Am I always finding myself saying to my, talent, oh, sorry, can you just walk over that bridge again? Let me change the angle. When can you use another camera that's going to make your life a bit easier? And once you start with that first project, you'll be off, because you'll learn how to work with Multicam Studio, okay? But it is just a case of just getting stuck in. Don't get overwhelmed just because it looks a little bit different from the timeline. I know you guys are all pros on the timeline now, and there was a time where you probably opened LumaFusion and thought, oh, this is a whole new thing to learn. This is exactly the same, but it's even easier because you're basically using the same languages as LumaFusion that you're used to on the timeline. Okay, so you guys, I will be posting this entire lesson on YouTube, so you can watch it back. But if there's ever any questions that you guys want to ask us, you can contact us directly. We've got an amazing customer support team. We've got loads of content on our YouTube channel, which is at LumaTouch, or you can just email me or Scott directly and we can work with you on any projects or any questions that you have. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. I'm just having a look at the comments now. You guys are all done, but thank you for all of your participation. And Scott and Terry, thank you for managing the chat there. And guys, we will see you next time. I will ping you guys an email for the next session and let you all know what goodies we have in store for you. But thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.